the mockery of the weak captain. Sarah Chen stood before the towering gates of the Galactic Assembly, her uniform crisp and her posture perfect, despite the gravity that pressed down 3 times heavier than Earth's. The massive structure floated in the void between stars, a testament to the engineering prowess of civilizations that had traveled the cosmos for millennia. Behind her stood Commander Marcus Torres and Science Officer Dr. Amara Okonkwo, representing the brightest minds humanity had to offer. They had traveled for 6 months through hyperspace lanes they barely understood, using technology reverse-engineered from a crashed probe. All for this moment. The doors opened with a sound like thunder rolling through vacuum, revealing a chamber that defied human understanding of architecture. Geometric shapes twisted through dimensions that shouldn't exist, while beings of every conceivable form floated, crawled, or phased through the assembly hall. Some were clouds of sentient gas that sparkled with internal lightning. Others were mechanical constructs of impossible complexity, their bodies constantly reshaping themselves. A few appeared to be living mathematics, existing as equations that hurt to look at directly. Sarah walked forward with measured steps, ignoring the whispers that followed in her wake. The universal translator implanted behind her ear caught fragments of conversation from 100 different species. Most of the comments weren't flattering. She heard words like primitive, barely sapient, and evolutionary accident repeated in various languages. Her jaw tightened, but she maintained her diplomatic composure. The speaking platform materialized beneath her feet, lifting her to the center of the vast chamber where all could see. The High Chancellor of the Assembly, a being called Zerion, whose body seemed to be made of liquid starlight, gestured for silence. Its voice resonated through multiple frequencies simultaneously when it spoke. The Assembly recognizes the species designated as human from the 3rd planet of System Sol 471. State your purpose before this gathering of superior civilizations. Sarah cleared her throat and began the speech she had practiced 1,000 times. Honored members of the Galactic Assembly, humanity comes before you seeking membership in your great alliance. We offer our unique perspectives, our adaptive capabilities, and our determination to contribute to the collective advancement of all species. The reaction was immediate and devastating. Laughter erupted from a dozen different vocal organs. A crystalline entity that called itself the Harmony Collective chimed in tones that conveyed pure condescension. Your species has existed for a mere 300,000 years. We have individual members older than your entire evolutionary history. What could you possibly offer us? Commander Torres stepped forward, his face flushed with controlled anger. We offer innovation born from struggle. While your civilizations may have forgotten what it means to fight for survival, we remember. Our history of conflict has taught us to adapt quickly, to find solutions where others see only problems. This brought even more dismissive sounds from the Assembly. A representative from the Etherian Empire, beings of pure energy, who had long ago abandoned physical form, pulsed with colors that translated as amusement. You speak of conflict as if it were a virtue. We transcended such barbarism eons ago. Violence is the last resort of inferior minds unable to achieve their goals through intelligence. Dr. Okonkwo activated a holographic display showing images of human achievements. Cities that touched the clouds, medical breakthroughs that had eliminated most diseases, the first tentative steps into space that had brought them here. Each image was met with increasingly patronizing responses. Your tallest structures would be considered temporary shelters on our worlds, commented a spider-like being with too many eyes. Your medicine is adequate for carbon-based life forms, with simple nervous systems, added a representative from the Silicon Brotherhood. Your spacecraft appeared to be held together by metal bolts and chemical welding. How quaint, observed the Voidwalker delegation. The session continued for 4 hours, each moment more humiliating than the last. Every human achievement was dissected and dismissed. Their art was called charmingly primitive, their science adorably basic, their philosophy the fumbling attempts of a species still grappling with self-awareness. Sarah noticed something during the extended mockery. While the aliens laughed and dismissed humanity's accomplishments, they never once asked about Earth's military capabilities. They simply assumed that a species so obviously inferior posed no threat worth considering. She filed this observation away, maintaining her calm exterior even as her mind raced with implications. Finally, High Chancellor Zarian called for the formal vote on humanity's membership application. The result was swift and unanimous. Not a single vote in favor. The application wasn't just rejected, it was archived in the section reserved for premature applications from developing species. Perhaps in another 10,000 years, when you have evolved beyond your current limitations, you may reapply, Zarian said, its tone suggesting it didn't expect humanity to survive that long. Until then, we suggest you focus on not destroying yourselves with your primitive weapons and destructive tendencies. As the human delegation prepared to leave, the aliens had already turned their attention to other matters. Humanity was forgotten before they even reached the door, dismissed as an amusing diversion in their immortal lives. Sarah heard one final comment as they exited from a young member of an ancient race. Did you see their skin? So fragile. They probably die from a strong wind. The journey back to Earth was conducted in complete silence. The three humans sat in their small ship, each processing the humiliation in their own way. Torres stared out at the stars with barely contained rage. Okonkwo reviewed the data she had secretly collected about alien technology during their visit. Sarah simply sat in the captain's chair, her fingers drumming a steady rhythm on the armrest. When they finally dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, Sarah opened a heavily encrypted channel. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Admiral James Richardson, head of Earth's true military command. Behind him she could see displays showing the real extent of humanity's preparations. How did it go, Captain? Richardson asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. Exactly as we predicted, Admiral. They saw only what we wanted them to see. They believe we're harmless primitives with no military capabilities worth noting. Richardson nodded slowly. And they have no idea about the Armstrong shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt? The quantum torpedo development on Titan? The dimensional phase shields we reverse-engineered from their own discarded technology? None whatsoever, sir. They were too busy laughing at our metal bolts and chemical welding to ask any real questions about our defensive capabilities. The Admiral's smile was cold and calculating. Perfect. Operation Hidden Blade continues as planned. Let them think. We're harmless children playing with sticks and stones. When the time comes, they'll learn that humanity didn't survive this long by being weak. Sarah looked back at the stars, where somewhere among them floated the Galactic Assembly in all its arrogant glory. They called us primitive, Admiral. They said violence was the last resort of inferior minds. They're right about one thing, Richardson replied. Violence is our last resort. The difference is, when humanity resorts to violence, we don't do it halfway. Continue with Phase 2, Captain. It's time to show them what happens when you corner a species that spent its entire existence learning how to survive. The screen went dark, and Sarah turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral. We have work to do. Outside the viewport, Earth, hung in space like a blue marble, looking small and fragile against the infinite black. But appearances, as the galaxy would soon learn, could be deceiving. Beneath those white clouds and blue oceans, 8 billion humans were preparing for a lesson the universe would never forget. The Assembly had mocked them, dismissed them, and ignored them. It was exactly what humanity had been counting on. When the predators became prey, 8 months after the humiliation at the Galactic Assembly, the first distress signal reached Earth's hidden monitoring stations. Admiral Richardson stood in the command center buried beneath the Antarctic ice, watching as data streams poured in from across the galaxy. His expression remained neutral, but his staff could sense the tension in the air. Sir, we're receiving broad-spectrum emergency transmissions from the Etherian Empire, reported Lieutenant Commander Diana Park. They're reporting complete loss of contact with 17 systems along their border with dark space. Richardson studied the tactical displays showing the affected regions. Any indication of what they're facing? Negative, sir, but whatever it is, it's moving fast. The Harmony Collective just lost 3 of their core worlds in less than 72 hours. The Admiral turned to his strategic planning team. How long before they come begging for our help? Based on current progression rates, I'd estimate. Within the week, sir, replied Colonel Hassan. Their standard engagement protocols are failing catastrophically. They're losing ships faster than they can build them. Richardson nodded slowly. And our assets? The Ghost Fleet is at 90% readiness. All 12 carrier groups are positioned in dark space, awaiting activation orders. The Prometheus Array is fully operational. The Prometheus Array was humanity's greatest secret, a network of weaponized satellites hidden throughout the solar system, each one capable of delivering devastating firepower through dimensional rifts. The aliens had never bothered to scan for military installations because they couldn't conceive of primitives having anything worth finding. 3 days later, Richardson's prediction came true. The main view screen lit up with an incoming transmission from the Galactic Assembly. High Chancellor Zarion appeared, but the being of liquid starlight looked diminished somehow, its glow flickering with what could only be described as fear. People of Earth, Zarion began, its multiple frequencies now discordant with desperation. The Galactic Assembly faces an existential threat. An entity we have designated as the Devourer has emerged from dark space. It consumes entire star systems, converting all matter and energy into more of itself. Our most advanced fleets have proven ineffective. Richardson let the silence stretch uncomfortably long before responding. I'm surprised you're contacting us, High Chancellor. Weren't we deemed too primitive to contribute to galactic affairs? Zarion's form rippled with what might have been embarrassment. The situation has changed. Your species' tendency toward violence might prove useful in this crisis. We formally request Earth's assistance. You want our primitive weapons and inferior minds to save your advanced civilizations? Richardson's tone was carefully neutral, but everyone in the command center could hear the steel beneath. Admiral, please, billions of lives are at stake. The Devourer shows no mercy, accepts no surrender. It only consumes and grows stronger. Richardson muted the channel and turned to his staff. Show of hands. Who thinks we should help them? Every hand in the room rose without hesitation. Not for them, Colonel Hassan clarified, but because that thing will eventually come for Earth. Richardson nodded and unmuted the channel. We'll help, High Chancellor, but on our terms. Full tactical command of the combined defense forces, no interference from the Assembly. And when this is over, humanity gets full membership with veto powers equal to any founding race. That's preposterous. You're barely spacefaring. You cannot seriously expect... Richardson cut the transmission. Lieutenant Commander Park, how long before the Devourer reaches the Etherian home system? 47 hours at current speed, sir. Then we wait 46 hours before accepting their next call. The command center returned to its preparations. In the asteroid belt, massive hangar doors opened for the first time, revealing ships that looked nothing like the primitive vessels the aliens had mocked. These were predators built by a species that had never forgotten how to bare its teeth. Angular and aggressive, they bristled with weapons that humanity had developed in secret, improving on alien technology with human innovation. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, flagship of the Ghost Fleet. Her crew was ready, trained in tactics the peaceful galaxy had forgotten existed. They had studied every military engagement in human history from ancient Rome to the Mars Rebellion. They understood something the advanced races had forgotten in their millennia of peace. War wasn't about technology alone. It was about the will to do whatever was necessary to survive. Exactly 46 hours later, Zarion called again. This time, other members of the Assembly were visible in the background, their various forms radiating desperation. We accept your terms, Zarion said without preamble. The Devourer has consumed 43 systems. Our losses are catastrophic. When can your forces deploy? Richardson smiled coldly. They already have. On cue, humanity's Ghost Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Devourer's advance. 300 ships, each one a testament to human paranoia and preparation, faced an entity that had consumed entire civilizations. The Devourer itself was a writhing mass of dark matter and corrupted energy, stretching across space like a cancer. Tentacles of pure entropy reached out from its core, dissolving anything they touched into component atoms. The alien fleets that had survived were scattered and demoralized, their formation broken, their weapons depleted. They watched in stunned silence as the human ships moved into attack formation with practiced precision. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," Sarah's voice carried across the combined fleet channels. "We're about to show the galaxy what humanity learned from 10,000 years of warfare. Formation Delta 7. Prepare for sequential strike pattern Omega." The alien commanders didn't understand the terminology, but they understood the sudden transformation in the tactical situation. The human ships moved like a wolf pack, coordinating their attacks with brutal efficiency. Where alien weapons had failed to penetrate the Devourer's defenses, human quantum torpedoes phased through dimensional barriers to strike at its core. Where alien shields had crumbled, human adaptive armor shifted frequency with each impact, learning and evolving in real time. But the real shock came when the humans revealed their true innovation. Instead of trying to destroy the Devourer outright, they began using its own consumption ability against it. Human ships deliberately allowed themselves to be partially consumed, but they had prepared for this. Each vessel carried viral nanobots that, once inside the Devourer, began converting its matter from within. It was a strategy born from humanity's long history with biological warfare, adapted for a cosmic scale. The battle raged for 18 hours. The galaxy watched as the primitive humans did what no advanced civilization had managed. They hurt the Devourer. They made it bleed. And when it tried to retreat, the Prometheus array activated. Dimensional rifts opened around the entity, trapping it in a cage of folded space-time. "High Chancellor, this is Admiral Richardson," the transmission reached every member of the Galactic Assembly. "You wanted to see human violence? You're about to witness what happens when our species decides something needs to die." The final strike came from Earth itself, a weapon that humanity had hoped never to use, developed in absolute secrecy. The planet killer they called Ragnarok fired once, a beam of concentrated antimatter wrapped in a quantum field that prevented decay. It struck the trapped Devourer with the force of a supernova, compressed into a single point. The entity that had consumed 43 star systems, that had terrified the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, died screaming in frequencies that shattered planets 3 systems away. In the aftermath, as the alien fleets slowly gathered around the human ships, there was no mockery, no dismissive comments about primitive technology or inferior minds. There was only silence and a new understanding of what they had overlooked. High Chancellor Zarian's transmission to Earth was brief. "The Galactic Assembly formally offers humanity full membership with all privileges and responsibilities thereof." Admiral Richardson's response was equally brief. "We accept. And High Chancellor, the next time you want to mock a species for being violent, remember this moment. We saved you because we chose to. We could just as easily have waited until the Devourer weakened you enough to take what we wanted. Violence may be the last resort of inferior minds, but it's also the first tool of survivors, and humanity, above all else, survives." The transmission ended, and across the galaxy, civilizations that had existed for millennia began to reassess their understanding of the young species from Earth. They had mocked humanity's weakness, only to discover they had been looking at sleeping giants. Now those giants were awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, looking out at the alien ships that now treated her vessel with obvious respect. "They thought we were powerless," she said to her crew. "They forgot that power isn't just about technology, it's about the will to use it." In the depths of space, humanity's ghost fleet turned toward home, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. The primitive humans had become the apex predators, not through conquest, but through a simple truth the advanced races had forgotten. Those who forget how to fight are destined to fall to those who remember. The Assembly had wanted to see what humanity could offer. Now they knew. And somewhere in the void, other threats stirred, drawn by the display of power. But humanity was ready. They had always been ready. After all, they had spent their entire existence preparing for war, even when they dreamed of peace.